Bulldog Broadcast on the Field of 68 Media Network. I'm your host, Dan Dickau, here to quickly recap a little bit of Gonzaga's season and forecast, preview what is up next in the offseason. First off, Gonzaga, congrats, another tremendous season. 28-4, 7th straight Sweet 16 appearance. Unfortunately, was ended in a loss to Arkansas after 2 wins in the first weekend of the NCAA tournament against Georgia State and Memphis. We've already talked about those on previous episodes, but one thing that kind of gets lost in the mix is just how consistently good this program has become. And yes, there are some people that are frustrated, disappointed that Gonzaga's season didn't end in their first national title or even a Final Four appearance. But what those people have to understand is just how difficult it is to do either one of those things, get to a Final Four and win a national title. You see Coach K's career just ended. It took Coach K over 10 plus years to get to his first Final Four, no different than Coach Few, but it took him his 6th trip to a Final Four before he won a national title. Obviously, he's won 5. Don't know what is in store for Coach Few over the next few years, but the whole point is you have to have good enough teams consistently to get to the opportunity where you could take advantage of getting hot at the right time of the year. You could take advantage of a break and an opportunity in the bracket. And you just have to be good enough. And I think Gonzaga is going to get there at some point. Many people thought this was the year based on expectations and talent on the roster, but it just wasn't meant to be. But I don't think it takes away anything from the season. Just how good they were, how dominant they were at times. You look at it, only 4 losses. Those 4 losses were against tremendous teams. Duke, who obviously made a Final Four. Alabama, who was in the NCAA tournament. St. Mary's, who won a game in the NCAA tournament against Big Ten Indiana. And then Arkansas, obviously, in the Sweet 16. So this program is good enough. This team was good enough. Unfortunately, it just didn't come to fruition in another Final Four and a title game, which has eluded Gonzaga up till now. But trust me when I say this, it's coming. It's going to happen. It's only a matter of time because I think all the pieces are put in place for that to happen. And a big part is you got to have great roster build out as far as talent and versatility and depth of positions, as well as in class. And I'll touch on that in a little bit. But first I want to talk about some of the questions that are out there about guys that are going to return. First one isn't really much of a question. Everybody knew when Gonzaga was recruiting Chet Holmgren, and it looked like a solid possibility that he was going to be going to the NBA after 1 year. Hasn't been announced, but I can only imagine he's gone. That's the case when you're a legitimate, almost certifiable top 3 pick. I can't imagine him falling below 3 in the NBA draft this coming June. I think the top 3 prospects, as I've said throughout most of the season, Banchero from Duke, Jabari Smith from Auburn, who is already declared, and Chet Holmgren. So, that one, obviously, I think everybody knew. The other couple that, we're waiting to hear and to be determined are starters in the backcourt. Rajir Bolton, who is a grad transfer. He does have 1 more year of eligibility, but I don't know. I don't have any inside information, and I don't know if he's planning on using that by coming back or going somewhere else. It would be great if he came back. I think he was a perfect fit for Gonzaga. I thought he had a tremendous year. But I would imagine that he is going to head off and try his hand professionally. And then the other one is Andrew Nembhard, finalist for the Cousy Award, the best point guard in college basketball. He proved his worth over the last 2 years for Gonzaga, just how good he was. Last year, when his waiver transfer was accepted, he allowed Jalen Suggs to kind of grow into his comfort level at the college game, and he was kind of just that steady guiding hand throughout the season. This year, he guided the ship, and he had guided it admirably throughout the year. There were times they needed him to score, and he did. There were times that they needed him to be a facilitator, and he did. I don't imagine that he would come back. He was on some NBA draft boards early in the season and through midseason. Any of the latest, I have not seen his name on, but I think he's an NBA point guard. Whether or not he gets drafted is to be seen. But I don't think he will be coming back for another season in Spokane with Gonzaga. But the biggest question mark out there is Drew Timme. What is he going to do? He's not on any draft boards. Is he good enough to play professionally in the NBA? I think so, absolutely. Will it be difficult for him? Yes, because of how the game is different in college versus the NBA, and his skill set and his true impact on the game, I think, is greater at the college game as opposed to what it would be in the pros. But he's got an interesting and unique decision because, like I said, he's good enough to be in the pros, but does the pro game fit him, and does he fit the pro game enough to have somebody, really kind of buy in and draft him in the second round or sign him to a free agent deal? If that weren't the case and that didn't happen, would he go to Europe, and how much money would he make? Which leads me to the reason that I say he may come back is because of the newness of the NIL and the college basketball landscape of figuring out just how this is going to work. I said it was going to take a couple years to flesh out, and we're starting to get some clarity on just how these things are working. Some guys have signed monster national deals, such as Chet Holmgren with Bose, Drew Timme with I believe it's Dollar Shave Club, and you had Banchero and Holmgren, I believe it was with Topps. So there are big national deals out there, but then there's also some tremendous regional deals, and I think Gonzaga's done a nice job. Gonzaga itself hasn't done a nice job, but it's the student athletes taking advantage of the opportunities that Gonzaga's afforded them to be able to be present in the community and get these NIL deals. And that's where I think, Drew Timme with a couple national deals and some great regional deals, he's got a chance to make a lot of money next year, which is why I think there's a strong consideration to come back. Because if you're not an NBA signed second round draft pick or a free agent with any type of guarantee, you don't know what you're going to make financially. Whereas NIL, he would be able to project out pretty easily what he's going to make. Not to mention the fact that if he were to come back to Gonzaga, he would again cement his legacy as one of the all-time greats in the program. Obviously, he's been a two-time All-American. I would imagine he would be one of, if not the front runners for Player of the Year, and he would probably be a third-time selection as an All-American. And if he comes back, I would imagine that really kind of solidifies maybe some transfers that are in the portal to want to come play alongside him and make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. If he comes back, I think Gonzaga becomes a worthy Final Four candidate in the preseason. You've started to see the way too early projections and rankings for next season, and those don't even make any sense because guys haven't. Not every guy that's going to be in the portal is in the portal yet. Not every guy that's in the portal that has committed to a new school to be able to evaluate and value what they would be to their new team. And nobody knows to a certain extent which guys are going to the NBA as well. So those way too early season projections just in rankings just don't make any sense. But that's kind of the conversational piece and the thought process that Drew Timme has to go on. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him back. As a Gonzaga alum, a fan, I would love to see him back, but I'm sure he'll make the decision that's right for him, that's best for him, and I'll wish him nothing but the best of luck. But I wanted to touch on the core of what looks to be coming back, and I hope they all come back because I think each one of these guys are going to add a tremendous amount of value to the program. I think they're going to get their shot next year.
Before we move on to the next topic, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at BETRIVERS Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with BETRIVERS yet, now's the time because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With basketball season tipping off, Get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
We'll start in the backcourt. Nolan Hickman, Hunter Salas, and Dom Harris, who didn't talk about much this year because he was injured throughout the season. He had a foot surgery. He wasn't able to make it back and get into game action, but I think he's got a tremendous opportunity to impact things next year. He showed as a freshman in limited minutes that he's got the athleticism and the competitiveness to make an impact. I think he's got the ability to really shoot it and stretch it. Talking to Gonzaga assistant coaches in preseason this year before his injury, they were really high on how he was playing. They were really high on his ability to shoot the basketball. So I think that's something that will enable him to carve out a nice role next year and niche. And then defensively, as a freshman, I thought he was good. I thought he was really good at times. You couple him with Salas and Hickman, who I thought both for freshmen were really good defenders, Salas in particular. You got a chance to really have a nice backcourt of youth for Gonzaga that is going to be very good. I think Hunter Salas showed stretches this year offensively where he was figuring it out. He had a jump shot that needed to be reworked, but I thought it got better as the season went on. I thought he was tremendous in transition, attacking, getting downhill, being opportunistic in cuts in the half court. But defensively, as we're hearing minutes as a freshman, I think his game's going to grow over the course of the spring and summer, and I think he's going to be a huge part next year to what Gonzaga does. And then the other guy I mentioned, Nolan Hickman, his minutes were up and down throughout the year, but that's to be understood, I think. Some people were asking what was wrong with Nolan Hickman. Absolutely nothing was wrong with Nolan Hickman. I think you just had two great senior guards that needed to play big minutes, and that being Andrew Nembhard and Rajir Bolton. It's nothing against what the staff would think of Nolan Hickman. It's just those two guys were experienced. They'd been through the battles, and they needed to play those minutes. I think Nolan Hickman is the next really good point guard to come through Gonzaga. And I think with his creativity with the handle and his passing ability, coupled with, I think, a solid jump shot, you're going to see a really good guard next year kind of handed the reins and taking over things and really driving Gonzaga's offense next season. And then Julian Strawther, he started every game this year, I think but one. I think it was senior night was the only game he didn't start, but I thought he had a really good year. I think he did a tremendous job as a freshman of learning behind Joel Ayayi, Corey Kispert. He came in this year and he performed tremendously. So you can see the growth that happens with Gonzaga players when they buy into a developmental year, whether it's a redshirt or whether it's a year where they're not playing the amount of minutes maybe that an outsider would expect a guy to play. If you learn, you bide your time, and you're wise with those hours, it's going to pay off. And I think it paid off for Julian Strawther. I think he is an eventual NBA player with his size and his skill set. Few people have mentioned him leaving this year. I don't think he's ready. He may test the waters just to get some evaluation from the front office, but I think he'll be back, and I think he's going to be a tremendous asset, and he's going to have a great junior year. So that's kind of the backcourt. It'll be interesting what Coach Few and the staff does in the transfer portal. Do they get a experienced guard? Because what you're talking about with Hickman, Salas, Harris, there's not of experience yet. Strawther has some experience, but not being as the go-to guy. So it'll be interesting to see. I know Gonzaga's name has been mentioned with a number of guys right now, but we'll be paying close attention to how that plays out. As far as the front court, obviously the big pieces are to be determined with, does Timme come back? And then some of the big names in the transfer portal that have mentioned Gonzaga, in particular 5 men to pair with Timme, guys who are rebounders, shot blockers, defensive kind of stalwarts. Who does Gonzaga prioritize, and who does Gonzaga get to come next season? But I think when you look at the other returning bigs, in particular Kaden Perry and Ben Gregg, I think you've got a solid pair in young bigs right there. They're different. Kaden Perry was injured throughout most of this season. He only played, I want to say, 8 games, but his athleticism is off the charts. I think he's really going to become a fan favorite once he's healthy. But the sky's the limit for him when healthy, because I think he can be a tremendous run the floor big, finish early deep seals, screen and dive guy, active on the offensive glass and rim protector. And then Ben Gregg, I think when you look at him, he was a guy that graduated high school early, came to campus a year ago to finish out that COVID impacted season. And he did a nice job of learning along the way, but then this year he battled some injuries. You could see at times he didn't look comfortable, but then there were times that he looked really good, whether it was when I was able to be at practice watching or a couple minute stretches in games. He's got a solid understanding. He's got a good IQ and know-how of what to do. I think it's just a matter of getting him some experience, and he will be a good player at Gonzaga. So there you have it. Just a few observations, a few thoughts of the season, how the Gonzaga program continues to evolve to be one of the true elites, and where do they go from here with some guys leaving and staying with decisions, and then a core group of guys that I hope to see back will be kind of paired with a group of transfers. Now, I don't think I think the culture at Gonzaga is built so well, and guys want to be here. I don't think you're going to see a mass exodus like you see in other programs. You just don't. Guys come to Gonzaga understanding and knowing that there's a timeline to your career, there's a timeline to the process. You might speed it up by improving immensely in a short amount of time, but you're here and you're going to get better, and you're going to be a part of a winning program, and you're going to have a chance to make deep runs. And if you buy into all that, you're going to have a good individual career that allows you to maybe have a chance to play at the next level, and you're going to have a great team career. And that's what guys come to Gonzaga for, and they buy in for. So it's been a fun season following Gonzaga basketball. It's been a fun season on the Bulldog Broadcast with the Field of 68 Media Network, bringing you a little bit of insight. Field of 68 guys do a tremendous job. Always fun to listen to what they're doing. So for Dan Dickau and the Bulldog Broadcast, I am done for the season. Take care, God bless, and go Zags.